In doing research to portray Mary Lincoln for my novel, I was struck by the mixed impressions people had in her youth and in her adulthood. A childhood friend described Mary as a vivacious girl, great conversationalist, but a child who was given to periods of depression. One young man called her the very creature of excitement. Her brother-in-law said of Mary, she could make a bishop forget his prayers. Lincoln's law partner, William Herndon, also described her as graceful and cultured, but Mary was witty, and she had a sharp tongue that she seemed to have deployed on William Herndon because in time he came to call her a she-wolf. And it's Herndon's portrayal, unfortunately, of her that has held significant sway over the years. So who was Mary Lincoln? Well, I think Mary was a bright, fun-loving, spunky, ambitious, complicated young woman who was dealt a hand in life that was staggeringly difficult. She carried a deep wound from having lost her mother when she was 6 years old. And 18 months after her mother's death, her father remarried a woman with whom he had 9 more children. Mary, she didn't get on well with the stepmother, was sent to boarding school. And I think she surely must have felt a great sense of abandonment, first by her own mother and then by her father as well. But in Springfield, she found the love of her life in Abraham Lincoln. And he was an unpolished lawyer whose brilliance she recognized before a lot of other people did. Her marriage, I think, became her sanctuary. Within 9 months of their ceremony, she gave birth to her first son. Abraham Lincoln would go away from home for 6 months out of the year in 2 3-month segments, fall and spring, and ride the 8th Illinois Judicial Circuit. Mary, who was left home alone with children and a lot of chores, felt abandoned. She never wavered in her support of her husband's political ambitions. She continually urged him forward and upward. She was his own campaign partner, writing letters and throwing parties for hundreds of people to gain their support. And when a telegram reached Lincoln informing him of his 1860 presidential victory, he left the party to shout to Mary, "Mary, we are elected." They were a team. Mary's kindnesses to others have been largely overshadowed. When a Springfield neighbor fell ill after childbirth, Mary nursed that newborn as long as she could. She paid for the wedding gown of a servant, and she gave furniture to another servant when she married. During the war years in Washington, D.C., she would visit soldiers who were in hospital, and she would bring them gifts of fruit and books, and she would read to them. She wrote letters for them, very often without saying that she was the wife of the president. While in the White House, she evolved politically also through her friendship with Senator Charles Sumner, an abolitionist, and she became more fervent as an abolitionist as a result. Mary's life was marked by just profound trauma. She lost 3 of her 4 sons to illness: Eddie at age 3, Willie at age 11, and Tad at 18. Mary was holding her husband's hand when he was shot in the head at Ford Theater. She felt deeply betrayed years later when her remaining son, Robert, had her committed to a mental institution briefly after the death of Tad. And in the final years of her life, she spent them in isolation and mourning in her sister's Springfield home. I think Mary deserves a fonder place in our national memory. Without her encouragement and ambition for her husband, America might never have experienced the leadership of Abraham Lincoln. We might never have known about the humble Illinois man who today is regularly called the greatest president the United States ever had.